This video is a tutorial on Google Slides. Google Slides is the equivalent of Microsoft PowerPoint or Apple's Keynote in that you can create presentations, and in Google Slides it saves automatically to your Google Drive account. Now, whilst Google Slides is a perfectly good app, there are some limitations that you do need to be aware of. For example, animations and transitions between slides you cannot do inside the Google Slides app as of April 2019. If you need to add transitions or animations, you'll need to do that through Safari in the web interface instead of using the app. So I thought I'd just mention that now, just in case you watched the entire tutorial and then thought, well, why hasn't he talked about that? It's because it's not here. So now let's have a look inside the Google Slides app. And when you open it up, this is the screen that you will see. It lists all the documents that you've recently worked on. And from here we can navigate to different parts and do different things. So I want to draw your attention to the three lines in the top left corner of the screen. If I tap on that, right at the top, it's here where I can add an account or switch between them. So if you have multiple Google Drive accounts, you can just tap on the profile at the top, and from there you can switch. I've blurred mine out because I don't want you having my details, but it's there, trust me. Now below that we have a number of different, filters for what is viewable on this main screen here. So if I go to, well, at the moment it says recent, so right on this screen here the recent files are showing. Then I've got below that starred. This acts a bit like a favourite system. You'll find this in Google Sheets as well as Google Docs, and you can just star a file if there are particular documents you want to open very frequently, so then you don't have to go looking for them. Now they will appear on this screen here. The next item down is shared with me, and these are documents that you are working on collaboratively. So if you are working as part of a team and there's a document that you're all editing at once, then they will appear in here. The next section is for offline files. So you can turn on a setting, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, but you can turn on a setting where any recent documents you've worked on are automatically saved onto the iPad, so you can open them even without an internet connection. So only offline available files will be here. Next we have the bin. So if you've deleted a file recently, that'll be here and you can retrieve it if that was an accident. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then we have Google Drive, which allows you to view all the documents in sort of the Google Drive layout. And then let's go to settings. So it's from here that we can add and switch between accounts with the box at the top. And here's that toggle I mentioned just now about making recent files available offline. You can turn that on and off to save space. And then we have default apps, which for example, if you open a hyperlink inside a presentation, do you want it to open in Chrome or Safari, if it links to an email address, etc. So you can set all of the default apps that you want to use. Now in the top right corner we have a folder icon, which is another quick way of getting to your Google Drive documents. But next to that is a magnifying glass. This is our search tool. So if you have hundreds of documents that you just want to quickly find, you can just type in the title and it will appear there and you can open that up. So to create a new document, I think it's quite obvious. In the bottom right corner there's a white circle with a plus icon inside, and if you tap on that you have two options. You can either work from a template or start a new presentation from scratch. Now I just want to show you some of the templates, so I want to choose that option first. And there are a number of different templates available from Google that you can use to create a presentation, and they're for different things. So if you have a look at the top, we can see one for a lesson plan, got flashcards for revision, and we've got sort of all different personal PowerPoints, photo albums, etc. So there's not many, but there are a range of different ones to sort of give you a few ideas about how you might use Google Slides. Now I've gone back to my main screen, and what I'm going to do is tap that plus icon once again, and I'm going to create a new presentation from scratch. And then it'll ask you to create a file name for this presentation straight away, because all changes are automatically saved. So it works really quickly and it opens up a blank document for you straight away, and our first slide is already in place. Now what I want to show you is some of the slide settings, because we can adjust the theme and various things like that. So if I move my eye to the top right corner of the screen, there are three dots. Here's our menu, and the second option down is change theme. So if I just tap on that, you can see now I've got a variety of different themes I can choose for this presentation, and you can also adjust these quite substantially based on what you want to do. So I'm just going to tap on Swiss, this one here. As you can see, really quickly it loads that new template. Now whenever you add a slide, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment, all of the they're all template based, so they've all got text boxes automatically in place. So as you can see on my screen right now, it says double tap to add a title. So when I do that, I can just start typing. Now if you don't have a physical keyboard connected, I've just disconnected mine, the on-screen keyboard appears, and you can basically just do the similar sort of thing. Now you'll notice when I have a text box selected, a menu appears along the top. So it's giving me some basic typeface editing options. So with that selected, I can choose whether I want it to be bold, underlined, strike through. I can change the colour of the text if I want to. I've got various highlighting options. I can adjust the alignment, where it sits inside the text box, whether that be the sort of the top, middle or bottom. And further along from that, I can see a bulleted list, numbered lists, I can indent, I can change the background colour of the text box. And if I want to have a border, I can do that. So I can select a border colour, and then I can change the border width and the border style. Now you'll notice as well when I tap a text box, an option appears at the top. I'll just tap it again. If you have a look at in the top right corner of the screen, the fourth icon from the right, when I tap the text box, it changes. So from here, I've got additional options. I can change the typeface. It's got some of the other things as well. And we're going to come back to this menu in a little while because this is sort of contextual. So when I add an image or a shape, I'll have various options on this menu here. But I just wanted to let you know about this. So just a little bit further to the left of that icon, I have two arrows, undo and redo. And I can go back a number of steps. Now when I tap on an item, be that a text box or an image or whatever, I get a contextual menu that appears. So it's from here I can cut, copy, paste, delete. If I've got numerous layers, so I've got text on top of images or whatever, I can move it to the front or send it to the back. I can change things into a hyperlink. Now that can be a website link, or it can be linking to another slide on the presentation. So if you don't want to have a presentation where you're just pressing next, but you actually want it to be clickable to take you to different parts of the presentation, it's from here that you would do that. And the final option on this menu is to add a comment. So if you're working collaboratively and you want to leave notes for somebody else who may be working on that document with you, you just tap on that. You can add a comment to that particular slide or element. So the main window at the moment is separated into two panes. So the big one is obviously where we can view the presentation. But then there's a column at the left where we have our different slides. So when we add more slides, you'll see, and you can navigate between them using that column. If I tap and hold on a slide, now it says one slide selected, and I've got some new options along the top right of the screen. So I've got cut, copy and paste as my first three icons. So that's quite useful if I wanted to sort of duplicate. I could tap on copy and tap on paste, and it duplicates that. I can choose a little bit further along to hide the slide. And then we have the second to last icon, which is where we can adjust the look of the slide. So I can choose a background image if that's what I want to do, or I can adjust the background color. And then we've got two more options. I can reset the background. So if I make a few adjustments, I want to get rid of it all, then I can just tap on that. However, I can apply this to the whole theme. So if I decide I really like this horrible shade of yellow, I can apply it to every slide in the PowerPoint. I'm not going to do that, believe it or not, but that's how you would do background images and change the background color. Now the last icon on this new menu that's appeared allows me to change the layout of this theme, so I can just tap on a different style to choose something else if that's what I want to do. So now let me show you how to add a new slide. So if we have a look on that pane on the left where all our different slides are going to appear, right at the bottom, in the bottom left corner, we have this button here that allows us to add a new slide. And before we add it, we can actually choose what style that should be. So I'm going to choose title and body. And now it's added my new slide. And just as promised, I can, on this pane on the left, I can just switch between the slides really quickly. Another way of navigating is simply just to swipe over the slide, and I can do that, you know, to quickly get between all the different slides of my presentation. Now on this new slide, I'm going to clear some space, so I'm going to tap on this bottom text box here and press delete. Now I've got some space to add a few different elements. So now if I go back onto the top right of the screen, the third icon from the right, there's a plus symbol. Now let's talk about some of the options that we have available to us here. The first one, just like before on that contextual menu, is to add a comment. So I can add a comment to the slide to let someone else know what changes need to be made or whatever. And then the one below that is a text box, so I can tap on that and it'll add a text box here for me. And I can resize the text box by dragging on one of the blue squares on my selection. And you'll notice with this blue sort of outline, there's a blue circle right at the top. And if I tap and hold on that, I can change the angle of the text as well. Now with the text box selected, if I tap on the edit button, which is in the top right corner, the fourth icon from the right, I can make adjustments to this just like I did before. So I can change the typeface and the size, the color. Now this is one of three tabs. So I've got text at the top, then I have paragraph, then I have shape. So it's from here in shape that I can add a fill color or a gradient. I can change the border color. Choose the weight of that border and its style. So when I don't have anything selected on the screen, that plus icon comes back, that third one from the right at the top. So I can tap on that, and let's have a look through some of the other options I have. So next I can add an image, and I can choose whether I want that from the camera, so take a photo, or I can choose it from my existing photos in my library. So here is an image I've just added. And once again, I can resize that image because now I've got it selected. I can see the blue squares around the edge. If I just tap on one of those squares and hold it, and drag it inwards, I can resize it. I can tap and hold to move it around the screen. And then we have that circle that sits just above the selection, and it's there that I can adjust the angle. Now with this image selected, I can go back to my edit menu in the top right corner, and I've got a few options for this. I can choose once again quite simply to have a border color, the weight, and I can choose the border style. Now if I tap and hold on an image, the menu at the top changes, just like before when I held on to one of the slides on that pane at the left. Now I've got a few other options. Again, if I just have a look along the top right, so I've got cut, copy, paste, delete, and I've got that border menu as well. I can just tap on an image once though to bring up that contextual menu and achieve the same thing. Now if I go back to the add menu, I've got some more options. I can add a shape, and we have a sort of a library of different shapes. I can scroll through this menu, and there's different categories. So I've got shapes, I've got arrows, callouts, equations. So let's just put, I don't know, picture of the moon. So it's now put that shape on my presentation, and just like with everything else, I can tap and hold to move it around on the screen. I can resize it, I can adjust the angle, And with that shape selected, if I go back to my edit menu and go to shape, the last tab, I can change the color, or I can add a gradient. I can change the border weight and the style and the color just like before. If I go back to that add menu again, the next item down is line. So I can choose if I want to have just a basic line which goes from one point to the other. I can choose an elbow connector or a curved connector. So this is where if I have an arrow but I don't necessarily want it to be straight. So let's just choose a curved connector to show you what that looks like. So now it's put this sort of wavy arrow on here. So if I just tap on it, I've got two blue circles. So what I can do is I can tap on one of these and drag it to one element, and then I can drag the other one to another element, and you can see it kind of snaps to the different items that I have. If I go back to add a line, I've got elbow, so this one isn't so curved, so let's just see what happens here. I've got two blue circles. I'm going to drag one to the title up here and one to an image here. I mean, yeah, not a very good example, but you can see how it kind of snaps, and you can choose whether you want like a straight arrow or a curved one. Now if I tap on one of these lines, go to my edit menu once again, I have different options. I can change the color, I can change the weighting, I might want to have a dashed line, what shape I want to have at the beginning of the line, so it doesn't have to be an arrow. So it could be like a circle here, and I might want an arrow for the end point. So you can see now that's changed quite a lot. So for the next item I'm going to show you, I'm just going to create a new slide once again, and now I'm just going to choose a blank slide, because what I'm going to do now is go back to this add menu and add a table. So when I choose that option, I can choose how many columns, how many rows I want. I'm just going to tap on insert, and from here I can populate the cells of the table. And you can hit the tab button on your keyboard if you have a physical keyboard to just switch between all the different cells. And if you keep hitting tab past the last cell, it will continue to add a new row. So just like with an image, I can tap to select the table, I can tap and then hold, and I can drag it to a different part of the slide. I can hold on to one of the blue circles to resize it. And if I tap on the table, it brings up a contextual menu. Now if I want to resize the columns, what I can do is I can just sort of, if we have a look along the top of the table, I've got this kind of, I'll just show you by tapping really, I can't really explain what it is, but we can see that I can select the different columns and I can select the different rows using this sort of axis guide along the top and on the left. And then you'll notice if you look really closely, when I've selected a row, I've got a set of 3 or 4 lines. If I tap and hold on that, I can adjust the width of the column. And you'll notice when I've selected a column, this contextual menu allows me to add columns to the left or add columns to the right. And a similar menu appears when I tap on a row, so I can insert rows above and rows below. If you want to select multiple cells, you can tap on one cell, and you can see that on that selection where I've selected January, I've got a circle in the top left and the bottom right corner. I'm going to tap and hold on the one in the bottom right corner. I'm going to drag it across to select all of the cells on my header row. And then in the top right corner, I can tap on the edit menu. The third tab along is for table, and from here I can choose a fill color. or once again a gradient. I can change the border color, the border weight, all the stuff you've seen before. And then the last option allows me to merge the cells. So if you ever need to merge the cells, it's under your edit menu on the table tab. That's how you do it. I'm just going to go back to the first slide for the last thing I want to show you. I'm just going to make a selection of the title of this presentation. And if I click on the add menu, once again, I can scroll down and I can choose link. So that's just like the link I showed you before on the contextual menu. It's just another way of getting to it. And then I can link it to, let's call it slide 3. And then when I tap on that, it should take me to the table slide. Now, if I want to play a presentation, I can do that really easily. There's a button next to the undo and redo buttons in the top right corner. And if I tap on that, I can present on this device. I can present to a new meeting. I'm assuming that's some sort of Google Hangouts thing. So I'm just going to present on this device. It will load the presentation. And now I'm ready to go. So to change the presentation, I can just tap on the screen to take me to the next slide. If I swipe from left to right on the screen, I can go back to a slide. And the same, if I swipe from right to left, I can go forward to the next slide in the sequence. If I double tap on the screen, this drop down menu appears, and I can click the X in the top right corner, or I can tap the X rather, in the top right corner. That takes me out of presentation mode. Now we're going to have another look at the menu, the 3 dots in the top right corner of the app. And I'm going to show you a few of these other options. So the next one, the third one down, is for speaker notes. So if I just enable that, you can see now I've got notes that we can have for the speaker. And I can turn that off again to hide it. The next option is to view guides. So this sort of puts this sort of crosshair on the middle of the slide, allows you to sort of know where the middle of the slide is, or the different segments. That's, you know, doesn't do very much, but it's quite useful if you want it to look a particular way. Then we have details, that just tells you information about the slide, when it was modified and created, etc. And then we have our share and export options. So if your iPad is connected to the internet, you can share this with other people who have Google accounts. You can turn on link sharing, so when you toggle this, it copies a link to your clipboard, and then you can email that link to whoever, and they'll be able to access the document in your Google Drive account. You can send a copy, which will enable you to send it to by email or message, whatever system you kind of want to use to share that presentation. Below that we have print. So if you have an AirPrint enabled printer, then you can print off this presentation. The next one from that allows you to save this as a PowerPoint file. So this will enable you to open this in Microsoft PowerPoint. And then you can duplicate the presentation by tapping on Make a Copy. To exit out of this file, in the top left corner I have an arrow. I'm going to tap on that. It takes me back to my document selection screen. And the final thing I'm going to show you is just some shortcuts in how to manage files without having to tap and go into each individual file. You'll notice I have 2 presentations. There's just a couple of files that I've made for this tutorial. And next to the title, I have 3 dots on each one. And if I tap on that, it brings up another menu. And this allows you to achieve a lot of the things that I just mentioned, but without having to open up each individual file. So just as before, you can convert it to PowerPoint, you can share it, you can add it to the starred folder, turn on and off whether you want it available offline, do link sharing, you can rename, you can move to a folder, you can view the details, or you can delete the file from your Google Drive account. So that's it for this tutorial on Google Slides. It doesn't do everything that Microsoft PowerPoint and Apple Keynote allows you to do, but it is still a pretty good app, and there is more functionality available to you if you choose to work on your Google Slides document through a web browser or on a computer. So all in all, it's a pretty decent package, and considering it's free, well, you can't really complain too much. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll be back soon with some more iPad tutorials.